Every morning in North Korea, before anything else, you clean the portrait. Not your house. The portrait. The man in it has been dead since 1994, and if there's a speck of dust on the glass when the inspector comes, that's a crime. North Korea, 25 million people, almost no internet, no travel without a government permit, 4 state television channels and a menu of approved haircuts, just 10 options for men, 18 for women. Most coverage treats this as a freak show, a parade of weird facts. And yes, the facts are genuinely weird. Triplets are taken by the state for 4 years when they're born. Basketball has its own rules. Slam dunks are worth 3 points. Blue jeans are banned. They represent American capitalism. Sunglasses are counter-revolutionary, even though Kim Jong-un wears them constantly. The metro in Pyongyang runs 110 meters underground, deeper than any subway in the world. It doubles as a nuclear bunker. But the weird facts aren't the story. The weird facts are what you're supposed to notice so you don't ask the more interesting question, which is, how does a system this extreme hold together? Every Saturday, every North Korean citizen attends a meeting. It's called Sengwal Chonghwa, life appraisal. You stand up, you confess your political shortcomings from the week, then you sit down and listen to your neighbors criticize you. Before the meeting, you've usually agreed what they'll say. Small things, predictable things. You came in late to work twice. You were distracted during a study session. Nothing serious, but you still had to stand up in front of witnesses and confess. And they had to criticize you in front of witnesses and mean it. Your neighborhood is organized into something called an inminban, a unit of 10 to 40 families, one appointed leader. Her job, always a woman, almost always, is to watch you. She tracks who comes and goes. She reports what she sees. She attends meetings about you. You know she watches. Your neighbors know she watches. Everyone is watching everyone. That's not a side effect of the system. That's the system. At this point, most people reach the obvious conclusion. This is what a paranoid dictatorship does. A despot making irrational rules, surveillance for the sake of control, cruelty with no logic behind it. That explanation is wrong. Not because the cruelty isn't real, it is, but because every single mechanism has a specific, deliberate purpose. And once you see what that purpose is, the whole thing snaps into focus. Every North Korean has a file. It's called songbun, your socio-political classification, and it doesn't record what you've done. It records who your family was. Your grandfather fought on the wrong side in the Korean War. That's in your file. Your great-uncle was a landlord before the revolution. That's in your file. A family member crossed the border in the 1990s. Still in your file. Your songbun determines where you live, what job you're assigned, whether your child can go to university, who you're allowed to marry, even how a judge sentences you if you ever face a crime. And if you're convicted of a crime against the state, it's not just you. Your parents go to the prison camp. Your children go 3 generations for one person's crime. It's a hereditary loyalty score applied to 25 million people, maintained in a database called Faithful Servant 2.0. Kim Il-sung didn't invent this architecture. He borrowed it. The Inminban was modeled directly on Chinese communist neighborhood committees. The self-criticism sessions mirror the Soviet criticism and self-criticism meetings that were mandatory across the USSR from the 1930s. The hereditary loyalty file echoes Stalin's system of classifying citizens by class origin. But Kim Il-sung added something the Soviets didn't have. Korea has a deep Confucian tradition. Family shame is collective. What one member does, all members carry. The regime didn't fight that instinct. It weaponized it. Family loyalty file, 3-generation punishment, collective sentencing. The state didn't impose an alien ideology onto Korean culture. It plugged directly into something already there. And then something happened that nobody planned for. In the 1990s, a famine hit. Hundreds of thousands died, possibly more than 1 million. The state's food distribution system, the mechanism the regime used to keep citizens dependent, collapsed. People were starving. The state had nothing. So people did the one thing the system was designed to prevent. They started helping themselves. Illegal street markets appeared, the Jangmadang, first for food, then for everything: clothes, electronics, foreign DVDs, Chinese goods smuggled across the border. The regime tried to shut them down. It couldn't. People needed to eat more than they needed to obey. Today, 72% of North Korean households report that almost all their income comes from these private markets, not state wages, not state rations. The Jangmadang generation, North Koreans in their 20s and 30s now, grew up after the famine. Markets are the only economy they've ever known. They trade, they bribe, they watch South Korean dramas on smuggled USB drives. Some Inminban leaders watch the dramas with them. In 2020, the regime passed a law making it punishable by death to watch or distribute South Korean content. A 22-year-old farmer was executed for listening to 70 songs and watching 3 films. The system is tightening because the system is losing, not collapsing. Losing, there's a difference. The portrait, the haircut menu, the basketball rules, these are the things that get shared online. And they're real, don't misunderstand. But the architecture that actually holds this together is invisible. It's the neighbor who knows your schedule better than you do. The file that carries your grandfather's politics into your child's future. The Saturday confession your co-workers already agreed to forgive, but still had to say out loud in a room in front of witnesses. The reason this works isn't fear alone. Fear you can build a wall against. What's harder to resist is repetition. If you've stood up in that room enough times and said the words, performed loyalty in front of people you live next to, people whose children play with your children, defection stops being just dangerous. It starts feeling like a betrayal of everyone who watched you perform it. The system doesn't need you to believe. It needs you to act like you believe. Enough times, in front of enough witnesses. It works. Not just in North Korea, not because of the portraits or the haircut rules or the file with your grandfather's name in it. It works because after enough repetitions, performing loyalty and feeling loyalty start to look exactly the same, even to yourself. So, how many repetitions is enough?